Yeah, you want to go ahead and get started?
Yes, let's get started.
Is joining us. So again, excited for you to join us today and explore some of those important tactics that can really impact your firm's bottom line by optimizing, various aspects within your intake process. So we're going to dive into 3 secrets to help convert those prospective into paying clients. And we hope you can really pull some of this foundational ideas or tips that you can kind of take back and incorporate at your firm. So just a 2 quick housekeeping notes. First off, we do have a Q&A feature on this webinar. So if you have any intake questions, whether now, you already have something that's kind of buzzing around in your mind, or if there's a slide up there that kind of prompts a question, please feel free to drop that. We are definitely going to reserve some time at the end to answer those questions. And we're also recording this, so feel free to take as many notes as you like, but know you'll get a copy of this recording in your inbox before the end of the week. So that kind of wraps it up for me. Let's get into who we are and start moving forward there. So my name is Libby Luff. I am the Strategic Partnerships Manager here at PracticePanther. And I get to collaborate with state and local bars, with law firm consultants, and with great partners here like Paul over at Convert Marketing. Our whole goal here is to really help support, educate, and empower attorneys on ways that they can efficiently and effectively manage their firm. So I have 15 years experience. I come from a sales, marketing, kind of operations background. So my whole goal in life is to turn those strategic challenges into untapped opportunities. So I'm going to pass it over to Paul, let him talk about himself and what he does over at Convert It.
Well said, Libby. And it was so fun collaborating with you on this project. Hi, guys. I am Paul. I am a former practicing attorney. I had a large volume consumer bankruptcy practice in Dallas, Texas for 14 years and decided to transition to more of a consulting and retired from practicing law, and got into a company that was doing virtual assistants and was a partnership lead with them. And what they needed a lead conversion partner. And so I thought of my old friends Convert It, because that is exactly who I used for the 14 years that I was practicing. So I'm very familiar with our product. I believe in it. It helped me. And so now I really love that I get to share with other attorneys their growth strategies about how it can work for them. And so my role is I do conferences, I run partnerships, and have some sales, but also, like Libby, work with bar associations and do educational CLEs and things like that. The idea just really being legal marketing is a trend that's here, and attorneys need to understand it, not fear it. And so if we can teach it, making your practice more fun, owning a business more fun, you're less stressed, and it makes you a better lawyer, and you ultimately can serve your clients better.
Awesome. That sounds great. Wanted to kind of dive into our products real quick, just for anybody who might be joining us today, not familiar with PracticePanther. We're the all-in-one legal practice management software that really helps solo, small to medium firms in all practice areas. We're looking to be really 2 things for our customers. We want to be easy to use. We want to be the most intuitive software on the market, because you are in it every day. It's got to be pretty to look at. It's got to be easy to use. And then also we want to be able to offer the customization for our customers, because depending upon your area of practice, you need a lot of different information, different documents and things like that. So we want to be able to offer customization. And we do that by providing some seamless case management, where you can really link all of your contacts and matters. Even when you're on the go, you can see on the left, whether you're on your phone, your tablet, or your desktop, you have access to PracticePanther. So you can automate those workflows, set those tasks and reminders. You can even stay within PracticePanther and send native e-signatures and communicate via 2-way text, really kind of utilizing that modern communication method. And then finally, want to kind of just talk about billing and payments really quick, because you can really go digital with your billing and invoicing options. And we're finding that those customers who do go digital end up getting paid faster. And so we want to kind of help them with that service as well.
Eliminate the hurdles.
Right? You got to. So I'll let Paul kind of cover Convert It.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just say about PracticePanther, I think anytime an attorney can eliminate how many programs they have to have up to work efficiently, it is better. So having a well-rounded CRM like PracticePanther is a game changer for attorneys, to be quite honest. So who is Converted? What is Converted? So for 10 years, we started really just as a standalone product. We were managing Google pay-per-click, which if listeners are unfamiliar with the term PPC or pay-per-click, it's Google AdWords. It is the paid portion of how you get found by the people that you want to find you. We have expanded and now are more of a full service agency. We help law firms grow by keeping our solutions easy, effective, and affordable. We have been working exclusively with lawyers over the last decade and have generated 145,000 cases for our clients. And so what it has grown into is Google Business Profile Management, websites, and then we still do your paid campaign management. And then we have a partnership where we also can field the leads, which we'll get into later with a call answering service. So we help and we focus on high quality inbound leads. It is about not wasting your time, and everything about us is designed to convert a lead to a paying client.
Fantastic. I think this is going to be a great conversation today. So let's get into it. So for today's discussion, we're going to highlight those key success factors to offer a seamless intake. We're going to talk about how you can win that digital game. I know Paul's got some really great things that he wants to talk about when you're discussing tactics to really improve your online presence, which really directly impacts those leads and those conversions coming through your site. And also through your phone, right, Paul?
Absolutely.
You can we're going to manage those intake expectations and how kind of set those expectations. Then we're going to, talk about the reason we're all here today. Let's talk about those 3 secrets to converting more of those prospective into paying clients. And then we're going to kind of wrap the conversation about setting benchmarks, your reports, and ways that you can really repeat this success.
Love it.
Yeah. And don't forget, we do have the Q&A. We are recording this, so please feel free to kind of drop in those questions and we'll be happy to kind of answer those. And then I really wanted to kind of take a quick moment here to really emphasize the critical role intake plays in every law firm's success. I think we're all familiar with it. I just kind of wanted to take this moment. It's really the first point of contact with potential clients. And if it's not done well, it can really impact your firm's client acquisition, as well as, your overall reputation. People share their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's get comfortable focusing on that client-centric approach and think about your first impression you're making. So when it comes to that first impression, here are some of the leading things that law firms are using to ensure they are maximizing that intake strategy. First, the being able, easy to find. You need to be easy to find online. It's the first place a lot of people are going to look. Their favorite search engine, probably going to be Google. Think about you and how you work for a moment. If you have a need for a service, a product, a place, where you're looking to go, how do you find it? How do you research? Where do you go? 2 easy things. You want to be easy to find online. And in addition to being easy to find online, you want to be easy to find on a mobile phone online. Because think about it, man, almost half of all traffic anymore is coming from that mobile phone. So you got to think about not only how you look searching from a laptop, but also how you look searching from your mobile phone. Yeah,
I think in certain areas, that statistic is even much higher than 50%, depending on the industry. It can be as high as 88%.
I agree. It's just, that's the first place people are just going to go. It's so innate almost anymore.
Right. We don't even own computers.
And then you kind of have that communication process. You really need to have this documented. In addition to intake, you documenting it also is great for new hires, training, as well as kind of a reference for important improvements kind of moving forward. Having this process allows you to set expectations for your internal communication channels, for protocols on talking with clients and leads, how you assign or notify staff of new tasks that are coming in. And, it's especially useful when you're working with that hybrid team. I so know that that's really important nowadays. And there's a lot of people out there working from home right now. I'm doing it right now. Paul, I think you are as well. So being able to have that communication process is going to be key.
And I will note that it also allows an attorney to really control and safeguard when you have paralegals and other legal assistants helping you in that intake process, to make sure if you know that the sequence is set, they're not giving legal advice where they shouldn't give legal advice. And it's a fine line in the intake because people want the answers and the attorney can't do everything on their own. So, having a clear strategy, like you're saying, is really, really smart.
Absolutely. And in addition to those communication process, a formal written process of your entire intake process is going to be huge as well. With that, it's really important to kind of write these all down. It's going to have a lot of similar benefits as the communication for new hires, training, iterating, but it also is going to help decide who does what, when, where. It sets those expectations for the different roles within your firm. And then it really kind of creates that consistency. So the same thing happens the same way, the same time, no matter who's kind of working on it. It really creates that consistency for your staff, as well as for your clients, really setting that expectation.
When you put the time into it, it's where you can start seeing that the principles that we all know, the Ford Model T, and you feel like in law that it can't apply, and you do start seeing that there are similarities and there can be standardization. And so taking the time to write it out is how that process starts.
It is. It really is. And having something to refer back to, I think, is really great, because you can't share what's in your mind, with your staffers or with your front desk receptionist, or, hiring a secondary consultant or partner, being able to fill them in on your formal process is going to be huge as well. And then
it's the freedom there. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's the freedom, that one, this is a super important one. It's how you actually find freedom to not have everything where you're chained to your desk. Your practice is contingent upon your answers. It's scalability.
Scalability. And then finally, a benefit of both the communication process and a written process is then it sets you up for success to create these workflows, create automation, kind of help you determine what can be streamlined and what process requires that human interaction, those important phone calls, those meetings, things like that.
And I would just encourage everyone as we go through, embrace technology and embrace those automations and workflows. There are so many tools and apps out there now that make your life easier. And it is annoying and it is arduous to implement them. And that's why oftentimes we don't. But if you really do take the time to map out a process with technology implementation and then teach it to everyone in your office, after you start living it, it's like the wheels just start turning and magic happens, Yeah,
and I think it's important that you really lean on that this is not necessarily something that happens overnight. It takes time to build this. And so it's important to find that time. Right.
So understanding your digital presence and its impact on conversions. So, the landscape is changing now, Libby, where 10 years ago, you could get away with a website, or even small and solos could have no website. There's a statistic that 55% of them still don't. And I would submit today that is a recipe for disaster. I think the easiest way, when you start asking yourself, what is digital presence for a law firm? Well, you are a consumer in other areas of your life. So the same way that you consume is exactly what your clients are going to do for you when their services. And so it's kind of a plug and play. You mirror. If you are looking for a new dentist and you would go to their Instagram, expect that your clients are going to go to your Instagram. If you would Google, expect your clients to Google. And so now that leads into using a dirty word for the legal industry, brand. So you do have to start thinking about your brand, but the best way to answer it, I think, is ask yourself, what is it about how you work your cases for your clients that makes you stand out? Why do your clients choose you? It is in bankruptcy. All bankruptcy attorneys are competent and can get you to the discharge. It is, how did they get you to the discharge? And for some clients, they want more hand holding. Other clients, don't want that. And you as the attorney, those are the small idiosyncrasies that start separating you. And that is what becomes your brand. And so why is your brand important? Because that is what you're going to present to the digital world. You have to have your message clear and you have to be consistent. Chick-fil-A, every time you see a billboard, says eat more chicken. They're not using different messaging. You're the same way. If you want to be the divorce with dignity attorney, if you want to be in Texas, there was a brilliant attorney named Mimi Coffee. She was a DUI attorney. And so she said DUI at night, coffee in the morning. It was a brilliant, billboard that became a little tagline. If you have something, a fun play, a play on words that you can do, that's when you start creating this message. I would say that inconsistencies on in touch points, how people are going to find you and see you online. That is the biggest mistake. People forget that you have a LinkedIn, a Facebook, that you have Instagram, that you have Avo and Martindale Hubbard, and then the State Bar. And then you have all of those same things individually for you as an attorney. And then you have them all again as to your business for your entity. And we'll talk about in terms of conversions, but algorithms read inconsistencies as bad things. And so that is, it's tedious, but that's probably the biggest mistake that I think people are making without even just having any type of intention. So obviously, as you approach online, you want to start with intention. And so key factors to find and repeat success: you don't have to do it alone. Find the right partners to help you do it, because you need to engage. Because here's the reality: whether you believe in digital marketing or having an online presence or not, your neighbor does. They're doing it. And you can be the best attorney on the block, but if the one who looks it online is going to get more cases. And at the end of the day, if your phone isn't ringing, just like if the restaurant has the best cook in the kitchen, if people are not walking in the door buying, it doesn't matter. So this is where some of your shift, I would encourage attorneys, the shift in your thinking. It is, don't start your day and say, what am I going to do for my cases? Pay attention to how you drive people to your door. This stuff really matters. And, so I think that batch working, putting it in your calendar, the same way that you would do a client appointment or a strategy session for a discovery response or when you're getting ready for trial, new case acquisition, to block 2 hours every day.
Awesome.
So, Libby, add, please,
I think that's great. And you mentioned even, bringing them to your door. I think that's a great analogy anymore, because your door anymore is your website. That's the first interaction that people are probably going to have with you. It used to be maybe your lobby or, your front desk person, but now, they're finding you 24/7, 365, it's always present, always online. So really kind of having and leading with that professional looking brand and website is going to be a great way to set you apart.
I think that that's a really interesting point, because, you used to have probably, 100 years ago, 80 years ago, it was Main Street, it was foot traffic, right? People walked by your door, so that mattered. And then that gave rise to the big law that it was, the way that they got cases or clients is, we have 8 floors in the building and we have all these resources. Then it became phone. They would call you, you would get a referral, call the attorney. And now we are seeing that it is first online and then they pick up the phone. And so you have to pay attention to both those touch points.
Absolutely. Speaking of touch points, let's manage those expectations, right?
Right. So I think that you have to look at each platform and take it for what it is. Not every platform is designed to give you a direct ROI. Not every platform is going to be, if I do this, I'll get a client. If I do this, I'll get a case. And that's where you'll hear marketing companies talk about that there's expert positioning and there's content marketing strategy. That is different ways to build credibility which then in the sales cycle, when you have a prospect finding you, that they're choosing you because they're like, oh, that's the guy that always is putting out these articles, that, oh, that's the guy that the newspaper always interviews at, when something is happening. Those are types of marketing that is positioning you in prospect's mind as an expert. And not every platform is going to do that. So you have to individually take Google and say, what is my Google business profile meant to do? What am I asking it, the intention? And then set your expectation of the metrics and the KPIs that you're looking for, and how you're going to manage it. Same thing with LinkedIn, same thing with Instagram. And I think that you don't have to take it all on. You can, obviously, you have to have a Google business profile and you have to have a website. Those are your two foundations. But the other stuff, if you are not, if you're afraid of video, there's a lot of stuff about embracing video. Video doesn't have to be you, but it is easy. Pick up your cell phone but if YouTube isn't for you, and making those videos, you can, with AI, you can create a lot of videos that are just words and it's motion and graphics. And so that would be when you're asking yourself, what am I doing on Instagram? What am I doing on Facebook? Is it a client portal? Do I want people asking questions? All of those things, I think that you have to, you just have to be clear with your intention and then plug in the technology. Because you can get lost in the shuffle of trying to do everything when the practice of law, thankfully, is still relatively easy. It's not, you can get away. You don't have to do everything that e-commerce and retail does. It still is pick up the phone and talk to your client, and that's how you're going to interact with them. It is getting them through the door. There's a lot of choices, and you have to understand that clients have a lot of choices.
Mm-hmm. And they do.
Well, and they're savvy. They're coming to you more prepared or with a better understanding than before. Where it was always much like how when we go to a surgeon now, there's very little we can audit when we have to get a surgery. Law used to be like that. Now clients are wanting to understand the process, and they are. You can read and understand a base level. Mm-hmm. So this is, how do you start it? How do you start saying, what am I going to do? What is my process? What are my touch points? And I think you would just have to start asking yourself, what is the first step that you want a client to do? And where do you want them to find you? Are your clients Googling you? So are they Googling estate planning, attorney Miami? If they are, what do they see? What are they seeing, and what is it saying? And then if they do the action that you're asking, are you asking them to pick up the phone? Who in your office is going to answer the phone? And what are they going to say? And so I think if you start asking yourself in your intake, what are the different channels of how you're found? If you have a former client that refers you a new client, what is the email? What's the telephone number that they're given? Who in your office is going to field that? Because you also want to take personalities and match skill sets. A lot of times a referral from a client, you want that to go to a seasoned person in your office, because they might come to you already thinking that they know their strategy or have questions. And that's not just where you want someone who's like, well, I'm just going to do the simple 4 questions and then I'm going to book you an appointment. That's a turnoff. So you have to start asking yourself those types of questions about what's best for your office. And technology, I always say, start with those channels and figure out your message. Then you start plugging who in your office is responsible. And in that process, you'll be able to start saying, okay, where does technology? Instead of an individual email, where can this be an automation? Instead of a phone call, where can it be a text, or should it be both? Those types of things. I'd love to hear, your kind of take on this too, Libby.
Yeah, I definitely think that's really important, and kind of just owning where you do go online. Like you mentioned, maybe videos aren't going to be the best option for you. So, TikTok, you can go ahead and mark that off your list, and that's okay to mark that off your list. And maybe it's not right for even your practice area, but really kind of writing down, even if you look at your current clients and maybe you have 3 or 4 who are just your dream clients. Those are the people that you would duplicate over and over. How did those people find you? How, learn a little bit more about those and how you can kind of repeat that process, because you've already done it a couple times. It's figuring out how you've already seen success and then replicating it from there.
I think that's important as well, Libby. Thank you for that, to encourage attorneys that you can have a target. Your target isn't just anyone who agrees to pay me for the practice area that I practiced. You have a particular type of person or client that works well with you and your personality, and it's okay to know it. It doesn't mean you have to say no to everyone, but I think there is confidence in that you can say no, and you should have a target that you're trying to work with, because your work-life balance is going to be happier.
Absolutely. And if not all clients, it's okay that they don't work for you. And I think that's really where your referral network comes in. Maybe it doesn't work for you, but you have a lawyer friend who works in those kind of cases or works with those kind of clients. Start making those referrals, and then you maybe start seeing some of those referrals come back your way.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to kind of just talk about client relationship managers for a moment. I think a lot of you probably know them as CRM, but this is a tool that can really help you and your staff easily manage that client experience that we've been talking about. You want to build a better client-lawyer relationships, and CRMs kind of really help you track those interactions on a client by client and even kind of on a staff by staff basis. So I think you're all familiar probably with the marketing funnel here on the right. It's a very basic funnel of where they find you, they like you, they love you, and then, they're willing to pay for your services or your product. But I think what's a lot of times missing from these funnels is kind of that next step, which is that retention aspect of how do you keep those customers, those clients continuing to come back. And I think that's kind of a really great benefit of utilizing kind of a CRM tool, because it can really help track all of that kind of information. So within PracticePanther, our software serves as a CRM where you can really take and refer to important notes, important needs for clients, potential clients, and really think about all of those details that you set up or you organize or that you have to keep track of. Some of the ones that I can think of are, the scheduling notes about availability for your clients. If they prefer to be contacted by a text, maybe you want to keep track of important birth dates or other important dates for that potential client or customer. Maybe there's multiple contact phones, and there's a most relevant one as well. Lead sources, follow-up tasks, there's a lot of different information, and it can be overwhelming to have to kind of either keep that in your own mind or maybe put it on a calendar somewhere or anything like that. And having a client relationship manager, you can really kind of keep moving these processes forward. You can sort, organize on a client by client need, and it acts as your one source of truth. It has the most up-to-date information for your staff to reference. And so it's a really valuable tool where you kind of house all this information.
Well, and I think what's great about that, Libby, too, is that this is where AI and the future of AI and automations can really help you. Those customer service that I know that everyone has had the ideas that they're like, oh man, I wish I could send, a personal card or do this at the end of the case or ask for this. Everyone knows what to do for their business. That's intuitive. It is, life happens and there's case demands that get in the way. This is where your CRM and new automations and embracing technology can help you have customer service, because that stuff really does matter. And they will, and then you are building a whole new revenue stream for your firm in referral that saves you on marketing dollars.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you're bringing kind of all of these new leads in, there's probably a money and a time investment. And so what's going to be really important moving forward is determining those intake success. I think this kind of leads into our next slide perfectly, Paul, is, basing your information on measurable metrics. A lot of people call these KPIs or key performance indicators, and it allows each law firm to keep track of numbers important for their firm. It helps kind of reduce that amount of wasted time or the wasted money spent on campaigns, or maybe some bad processes, or maybe the wrong leads, kind of like we talked about earlier. Not every lead is going to be the right lead. So we kind of recommend monthly reports that can really kind of help you determine where you need to continue that investment of time or of resources. And some of the KPIs we can kind of call out here that I know some law firms are utilizing is that cost per lead and conversion. Where are they coming from and who are converting the most? Where is that campaign ROI coming from, and how's that lead quality look? We also have some of those other ones when it gears more towards that intake process. It's like that follow-up response rates. Are people calling, missing the call? Are you able to follow up? How quickly can you follow up? What do those retention rates look like? Are you able to keep people on as clients? Even kind of a case abandonment rate in this case of where you lose people in intake. A lot of people maybe track different phases of their intake and see where those bottlenecks are happening.
And I definitely would encourage people, you want to be specific to your practice area, specific to your firm, but also keep them broad enough. These are really great buckets. And, specifically, I think like the cost per acquisition or cost per case, however you want to determine that. Communicating that with your staff allows everyone in the office to know the effort that it goes into to getting a client. And so this stuff really matters. I think a lot of times it feels so disconnected or disjointed, and, clients, it doesn't just happen. And, all of a sudden you're just working on the case. There was a lot of effort on multiple people's parts to get someone to retain your office. And so you have to know those things, and those things have to be factored in. Mm-hmm. It's not just what your lead cost.
Absolutely. And you don't want to continue to invest in areas that aren't performing, and so you want to make sure you're following those numbers. It's a wealth of data. It lies in some of this information. And so I'll let Paul kind of take it from here. He's got the first two of the 3 secrets.
Yes. So now we're going to go into the secrets to converting prospects into paying clients, because at the end of the day, that's what we're wanting. You don't just want, a bunch of names. You don't just want a lead. You want a high quality lead that is actually at the decision-making phase of their journey, that they're ready to move forward with you, because you want to capitalize on a 30-day, if you start kind of at a 30-day sales cycle, did you get the lead and did they retain within 30 days? That's kind of your base marketing ROI. So let's just jump right in, Libby, to the first one. All right. So Google Business Profile. I like to say your Google Business Profile is your digital business card. You wouldn't even think of going to a networking event or a conference without having business cards. This is the same version. People are going to Google your law firm name. They're going to Google keyword searches. And this is how Google identifies you in response first to those types of searches. Obviously a direct search for your name, but if someone is searching DUI attorney or something like that, it is your Google Business Profile that the algorithm is starting to identify the law firms. And so this is where your first version of where we were talking about the brand comes through. If you see on the right hand, Justin Camper, how it says law firm in Hammond, Indiana. If you are a multi-service, a multi-practice service area, law firm might suffice for you. I think it's important for small and solos. You have a primary practice area, or more importantly, you have a specific practice area that you are targeting online. And you should state that. Are you a family law attorney? Are you a divorce attorney? Are you a bankruptcy attorney? State that. And then, you really want to have, there's your Google Business Profile, the foundation, you want to have everything built out properly. There's products and services, and it's kind of just different areas where you're able to show your side services that you offer. Example, bankruptcy, loan modification, or student loan. That's where you can highlight that, because in the search, your clients are going to be looking to say, oh, do they do what I need? They're looking to solve their problem. So you want to make sure that your information is easily digestible and clearly answers what the type of client that you're wanting is asking and how are they asking it. And so it is, and you can do this. We have a guide, which I would be happy to send to everyone. You can claim your Google Business Profile on your own. You can manage it on your own. It is tedious. There are things that you have to do to remain active and engaged. And if you are not remaining active, engaged, Google is not going to read you in their algorithms as the best answer. And so when people talk about SEO, Google Business Profile is how you get found in the map sections. And so for lawyers, this is really important. You know, people are really looking at what's near me, who's near me. And so you can find partners. We have plans that manage this for you that start very low, $249 a month. And you can know that it's going to be done right and consistent, because you have to do blogging. And we do that for our clients on a monthly basis. And so it's a game, you know, to be honest. So let's take a look at the next slide. And so this is talking about your website. So either they're going to find you by Googling you first and seeing your Google Business Profile, and then they're going to go search your law firm name and they're going to look at your website. Or someone has referred them and they might start at your website, but then they're going to Google you. And so they're always going to hit both. And your website needs to have conversion tools. It's not just an array of information. Think of it like a resume, but you can design it to start converting prospects. It's not, you know, you can create a client portal, but your website is for sales. This is telling the world what you do and how you do it and why they should choose you. Modern stuff, you would want to make sure that you have a chat feature or a text feature. There is an entire generation that doesn't want to communicate with businesses over the phone. And so if you're not meeting them with how they want to communicate with your firm, you're missing out on potential clients. Ratings and reviews. There is a really, really great statistic that more than 50%, I think it might even be in the 60s, are willing to hire an attorney off of an anonymous review. So your clients don't have to disclose their first name if they don't want to, but getting those types of ratings and reviews from your clients, that's our culture. You know, Amazon, 4,000, reviews, 10,000 reviews. That's how we start gauging the credibility of something. Same thing applies to your service. You have to start saying, what is culture doing? And those same decision, the factors that drive those decisions are going to drive the decisions to hire you. And so you need to reflect that in your website. And again, you don't need to do this. There are partners. We have legal writers that write all the content for our website. So you can be, you can be assured that it's going to communicate clearly in a way that is designed to sell, because you don't need to write a treatise, but it needs to be good information. And you can tell when someone who doesn't have legal experience is writing the content. And so that would be a tip. When you are looking at doing this stuff, ask yourself, not all marketing companies are made the same. Ask yourself the industry that they really excel in, because just like lawyers find a niche, just like doctors do, marketing agencies do as well. And so you can pay attention to that. Okay, social media. So this is a big, a big shift, because we live our lives on social media. But not every practice area needs to do it, and not every attorney wants to do it. But social media is a way for you to both network with your own attorneys, i.e. LinkedIn, within your community, and establish yourself as a credible resource within your community. Or Instagram is a way for you to show personality. People want to like who they're hiring because of the client-centric model. And the feeling that they have choices. Clients are no longer thinking that they just have to go with the first option. They want to like the person that they're hiring. And so Instagram allows you to have personality. Facebook allows you to show those sides of yourself. It's not necessarily a strategy that's going to result in a direct case. And so you just have to ask yourself again, what do I want to get out of the social media? What do I want to get? Which is the best platform for me to use? And then be consistent. Okay, so then you want to leverage support for better conversions, all right? So you need to ask yourself, there's a concept, speed to lead. There is a statistic that a client or a prospective client, if they do not speak with an attorney or a law firm within the first 3 minutes, they are 98% less likely to hire that law firm. 98%. So you have to ask yourself, if you don't have a dedicated staff member within your office, you need to find a resource that is going to make sure that all of the money that you're spending on lead generation, that you're not wasting those leads. You know, having a targeted campaign, getting someone who is ready and actually did the call to action, pick up the phone. I mean, they have gone through the hoops, and, you know, you do not want to lose that. So you have to say to yourself, am I setting myself up to do the best? And in my practice, I'm of the opinion that this is a shift that law firms need to do as they modernize. And this is where I would say you have to start putting a bigger focus on sales, case acquisition, whatever phrasing makes you feel good. I call it sales. You know, it's important because this is the future, and it's only going to get more competitive. And I think that where you have train and educate your staff, this is where it needs to be a consistent part of your routine with your staff. The more that people can do, the cross training, the more questions that they can answer for anybody, the better it is for the firm, because that is the baseline service that you're providing. So it really is, you know, that idea that you have to live it. Everyone has to be a part of it, and you really are building a team. And so you really do have to invest in talent. That is, I think we're seeing that as a modern trend, that it isn't just about a warm body.
Absolutely. And people are investing money in campaigns, and they're investing money into people. And I hope they consider them investments. Otherwise, they start becoming, I think, expenses, you know, and that's right. Not how you want to look at it. So,
and I definitely think that if you come from it from this point too, case acquisition and new client acquisition from the very get-go, your advertisement, it is a warm place. The same way that a referral sits in your office, and they're saying, you know, you really helped my mom, and so I trust you. That same kind of feeling can exist in how you communicate from the front end in a cold transaction. That's your job. You know, that's your job as the attorney, to be a part of the process with your marketing company, to say, how am I reaching my clients and what am I saying? It's not just about, don't make it so transactional. You know, this is your business, you know, and it's you're selling you, and people are believing in you, and you're instilling hope in people that whatever the problem is, that there's a solution. So, you know, pay attention and be intentional. Okay, so one of the ways that we help our clients is with a 24/7 call answering. You know, you are going to be in court, and if you are small and solo, your legal assistants and your paralegals are helping you do substantive legal work. They don't have the time to always just sit by the phone all day long. So there are affordable options out there that allow you to do this, because it is more about a client feeling like they were heard, less about the actual answer. People are willing to wait if they feel like it's actually being addressed. And so in the front end, when you're talking about prospecting, we call it the stop the shop. If you have someone Googling, they have the immediate need and they're wanting the answer. If they're calling and you don't answer, they're just going to work down the list and just go to the next one. This allows you to stop the shop. If someone warm and friendly answers the phone and says, you know, hey, Libby, that's so great. I'm so proud of you for doing that. And if they can't get the attorney on the phone right then and there for a live transfer, or someone in the office, setting the appointment, the prospect feels like they took care of their part. They set the appointment. You know, and then there is no need to keep shopping unless they are a person that just wants to price shop, which sometimes, you know, that's unavoidable. You can't do that. And then after hours, same thing. I would also say about some practice areas, This is where cost saving can come in when you're analyzing this. You don't have to have your phones answered 24/7. People do understand a professional capacity in your practice area. I don't think many people are expecting their estate planning attorney to answer the phone on Saturday. You don't need to pay for a call answering service, but you might want to do it till 8 p.m. when people are off work, because that's when they have the time. So you have to look again at what's happening in culture, what's happening in your city, and where's your target market? What's their life look like?
Good feedback too. I like that. I haven't heard that before. Even if it's just working until 8 or 9, you don't necessarily need them for the full 24 hours. It's a good way to look at that. So we're going to kind of get into powering your processes. So we've talked about, all the different ways maybe you're getting leads, you're maybe talking to these leads, let's get them into the system. Let's get them into your legal practice management. With PracticePanther, there are 3 distinct features. You have your native intake form, you have your tags, and then you have your workflow. So they all work together to help really walk clients through your intake process and that customer journey that we've been talking about. And so with our intake form, it's super easy. It's drag and drop. And we have a number of different fields that you can drop in, whether it's a text field or a multiple choice or a drop down or date. You can really kind of drag and drop any kind of information you need to request from the client. From there, you can add tags that allow you to kind of easily sort and then report on the different types of either contacts or matters or activities that are coming in. As you can see on the screen, some of the tags for our contacts, you can establish a priority level. As Paul mentioned, maybe you have a referral lead that you want to make sure you're really taking care of and give them a higher priority status. You want to inform your team that it's a new lead, that it maybe came from Google and it came, in May. So that way you can run these monthly reports and find out exactly what's happening each month. Maybe you're going to want to tag matters specifically. So if you're having multiple practice areas within your firm, or even you want to get much more specific about different cases within that practice area. And then we also have those activities. I've seen law firms use this as a location for a meeting, whether if you're still in person, you'll have room numbers, or if you're online in Zoom. I've also seen them, an interesting way is to use them as phases. Maybe you have 3 or 4 phases within your intake process, and you're finding that when you run a report at the end of the month and a lot of the leads that didn't convert, maybe they're stuck in phase 2 or phase 3. It allows you to kind of really go back and understand what's happening within that process so that maybe you can make it a little bit easier or streamline it or kind of remove some sort of barrier there. And then you have your workflows. And typically with workflows, especially on intake, it's a forward process. A lead comes in, a couple hours later, you do this, the next day you do this, next day you do this. But also where the way workflows can be helpful is once you land that new client, and maybe you have a court date or a demand letter deadline that you want to go ahead and start building out. The really cool thing with these workflows is you can kind of continue that work from intake on into the next phase. So when it kind of helps you determine those important dates that need to happen. So, 10 days out, 2 weeks out, 30, 60, 90 days out, specific things have to happen. Specific tasks need to take place. And so workflows will automatically calculate all of those task dates for you. So you no longer have to be like, hey, if my deadline's in February, 90 days before that, workflows can help automate those date processes. So let's
the other thing looking at that I love about your intake form is it helps with training. It takes the thought out of it. It guides you with the questions so someone doesn't always have to have it. It's not committing everything to memory, and it's uniformity. It is, it's easy to just fill out the questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I kind of wanted to break down a little bit of that, some more on the automate your intake with these native forms. They have some really great opportunities. So every form that you create, it automatically generates that information. So native forms, what's cool about them, they're actually already built within the same platform that houses your case and client information. So it doesn't have to send a report over or have to do anything to communicate with PracticePanther. It's already in there. So having this native form, you can auto-generate all this information. You can automatically create a new contact and a new matter. And then you can assign records to that kind of the appropriate lawyer and notify kind of appropriate staff members. And so then you can assign lead sources. So creating intake forms, a specific one for maybe your Google campaign or your social media campaign, or if you have a kind of a business development campaign, you can actually email, text these, you can embed these intake forms on your website. You can actually turn these links even into QR codes. So all of these different forms will automatically assign that lead source, so you know immediately where they're coming in.
And Libby,
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think you do have a question that's kind of on topic with this stuff that someone asked.
Yeah. Can lead sources, thank you, Paul. Can lead sources automatically tagged instead of manually? So a couple of these, there are some automatic tags, but to get more specific on the previous slide where you maybe talk that it's in when the lead came in or where that meeting will happen, those will be tags that you'll need to add later on as the client goes through. But the good question, there are some things that will auto-generate, and that lead source is definitely one of them. Another thing that your intake will do is create and assign a task. So it'll automatically generate that task, assign it to a specific user in your firm. If you have an intake team, assign it to that team. And then they can even send kind of a notification email to that user, letting them know there is a new lead and kind of what to do next. And then you can also kind of create a welcome email within PracticePanther using that kind of native document template. We've had several law firms do this. Now you will be then sending that from your Gmail, that we integrate with, but you can automate this step as well. You can use Zapier and our MailChimp integrations. There are over 26 different triggers within Zapier and MailChimp. So you can automatically make sure that information is coming over as well and send those welcome emails. And I know that's a great kind of to-do thing to get off your place to really automate that welcome email.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you guys are really helping law firms take the thought out of the process, which is really what you want, so that you can have this really good system in place.
Yeah, and it's that admin work. It's very demanding work. And so if you can, anything that you can kind of automate and get off your desk, that's one way that we really want to help people just become a little bit more efficient. And another way is kind of with these workflows that we talked about. The one I'm showing here, this is actually a default workflow. In PracticePanther, we actually launched this earlier in the year, and it shows kind of a client intake workflow, just a default one. So anybody can kind of get in there, check out this. It's called client intake workflow. If you head to your workflow section in PracticePanther, and it'll actually walk you through every step. Well, not necessarily every step, but a lot of steps of this intake. So you can kind of get a better idea and understanding of how these workflows work. You can edit, delete, or add new tasks or events. You can even clone these workflows. So let's say you do have multiple practice areas. Once you get that workflow down, you can clone it and make maybe some small edits depending on practice area, and then launch those. So you're not having to recreate the wheel every time by cloning it, which is a really great feature within workflows. If you have an intake team, this workflow might, work a little bit differently depending on the task that they are doing and the order that they do that and how they handle it. So just remember that workflows are designed to be adjusted as you are continuing improving that process. And so we wanted to I know it can be hard with that blank slate getting started. And so having this as a place to get started, especially when it comes to intake, is a great way for firms to kind of start on that process.
And it's so helpful because, lead conversion there's a lot of follow-up, and there is a lot of touch points, and there's a lot of, you have to email, text, and call and notes. And so it can fill up a day. And so anytime that you can make it easier and know that the cadence doesn't have to rely solely on your memory, the better. And the better your conversions will be because of it, because organization is the key.
Absolutely. Well, and you're allowed to have a day off and hopefully a vacation. So, so getting in and talking kind of about those client expectations and managing staff communication. I know we're getting kind of close on time, so we'll make sure and keep rolling here. But I understand the majority of communication probably happens via email, but we wanted to kind of let you know what the different communication channels are here within PracticePanther. We do have a great integration with Gmail, with Microsoft, and being able to kind of sync directly with your platform and with your account. However, some of these might actually work a little bit better, and they could maybe attach to your cases in a different way, or maybe a different way that you want to start communicating. But one will be a direct message. You can message any person who is a user within your office. This is really great. It's found in the bottom right on your desktop screen when you're looking at it. And it kind of works, just like any other direct message would. If you need a quick answers, you need to call in sick, let somebody know that you're unavailable. You need to check in with a coworker. These are a great little way to kind of send that message. It'll keep the history of this information as well. And then you have the texting feature. Never have to leave the platform to send a text again. You don't have to share your personal cell phone. So maybe you don't get interrupted on a Saturday afternoon or something like that. And also within the text feature, you can actually have and add time entries and things like that. So it's really kind of cool integrations, never have to really leave the software. And same with these secure messages. I know that there's sometimes you need that extra layer of security. And so when you're looking for that end-to-end encryption, you can send a secure message through PracticePanther. It'll go directly to the client portal. You can send messages, you can send tasks. So if you have a client who is on board and wants to help in all the ways, you can send them a bunch of tasks and documents through the client portal where they can continue and, work through that checklist and submit documents and submit various information, but can really keep your clients engaged on that front. Another thing that maybe people don't think about on communication side is really that tasks, and think of it really as a communication tool. Maybe somebody finalized all the paperwork for a client, and instead of sending another email to another inbox, you can create a quick task, share that relevant information with the relevant users on the platform, and once it's saved, it's a notification just like you would on a social media site. You'll see kind of that red dot come up, and don't worry, there are things you are able to change those different settings on tasks and on notifications so that you know what you're getting, and you only want to get those notifications you want. But you'll see these different notifications kind of throughout for the secure messages, if invoices are viewed, and things like that. So a task is a great way to do that. And finally, we have those notes, and a note feature within the matters is great, but we actually have a contact note field. And I've seen this used for maybe the 4 or 5 top documents you need for intake or for a case. And they will actually put in there the documents they still need. So when a person calls in and anybody answers it, when they search that person in your platform, they see that they're still missing 2 pieces of information, and that person knows to ask for it. So it's a really kind of great way to get those really important must-need things from your clients.
That's a great feature.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. And then kind of that one source of truth is going to be big for us here at PracticePanther. Being available anywhere in the cloud, mobile phone, tablet, desktop, laptop, access it wherever you need to be. You can organize it all across your entire firm. Obviously, there are settings, so you can kind of give permissions to different people and different users, but it allows you to keep that information up to date. You can maintain that very important document version control. I know a lot of people have used the copy paste or the command find tool, and that's not necessarily the best way to manage your documents. And so utilizing one source of truth, what's always up to date, and allows you to collaborate. You saw all the different ways you can communicate with your team and with clients. So keep them engaged, follow up on those progression of tasks without having to even check in. What's being completed, what might be overdue, and what's still in progress. So you always have one place to go to find out all the information. And then setting those benchmarks. So Paul, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah. So, I think that it is an important statistic to remember. So 66%, according to the Clio trends, attorneys, small and solo, are not even tracking their leads. So that means even your referrals, you're not even keeping a record of what are the names that are coming in, and did they eventually sign up with your firm? So starting with a report is a good habit, to start doing it. And it doesn't have to be a super involved report. I think that keep it simple, and so you can build the habit, because it is the consistent tracking that matters. And so you have to just start, you can almost go back to your KPIs that you had. You want to really pay attention. When did you get the lead? Where did it come from? How soon did your office respond? Because responsiveness is a huge factor in a decision-making to hire your firm. And then, how long from the date that you received the lead to them setting their consultation? You want to start tracking what's that cycle within your firm, and then ultimately what happens after the consultation. How many follow-ups did it take? Because those can start showing touch points or improvement areas of how your office can use technology or sell better, to answer questions better, to get the client to see what you need them to see to ultimately retain your services.
And just a quick update for those using PracticePanther, we have these custom reporting options when you utilize these tags. We mentioned earlier that the tags based on your marketing campaign and the source will be automated and will automatically attach to your contact. So being able to run monthly and quarterly and annual ROI, understanding kind of what's doing great things for you on a month to month and even year over year, being able to circle back around it and really compare those are awesome. With tags, it kind of allows you to kind of slice and dice the information however you need to know. And so that's what's really great. You can tag by, or you can sort by certain tags or a group of tags to kind of determine what drives your leads, what's producing those conversions. And as you saw earlier, you can really attach tags to a lot of different things, those contacts, the matters, activities. You can really explore what's the busiest practice area even with your tags. And so these reports will kind of help you make these data-driven decisions. So that way you can find more success, you can be a little bit better, whatever that end goal at your firm is, these reports can kind of really help make sure you meet those. And then kind of wrapping up today, we want to ensure you are repeating those successes. So 90% of consumers think their experience matters as much as the product or service. And so it's really important to understand your client's experience throughout the process by offering kind of the survey. It's really great, you want to understand their experience. You want to do it immediately after a win, after you land a new client. And the best way to do that really is online. Cool thing is within PracticePanther, you have those intake forms. You can utilize it as a survey as well. And it, guess what, attaches directly to your client information. You have all that readily accessible then within your case and contact within your practice management platform. So really cool way to do that. If you're not a PracticePanther user, Google Forms is a great free opportunity where you can kind of develop some of these surveys as well. And then why are you doing this? You want to increase that response rate. People are happy to talk about you and things like that, but they may not share that information with you directly. So make the ask, ask them how well you did, ask them for a testimonial, ask them for a referral, because they're your client for a reason. You had a really positive experience with them. Find out what that was and how you can get more.
Love it. Great advice.
Thank you, Paul. And again, thanks for joining us today. I know we went a little bit over on time, but I think we had some good discussions. Know that you can find us on LinkedIn as well, Libby Funky Luff. If you're looking for me, I'd love to kind of connect there. Let me know you found us here on the webinar, that we connected here on the webinar. And if you have any questions about PracticePanther, you can head over to practicepanther.com demo for kind of a one-on-one opportunity to ask your specific questions.
And same, I am available to speak with anyone about growth strategies, about marketing, and give you a personal strategy and a personal rundown evaluation of your online digital presence. And so you can find our, I think we have a QR code, but or not.
I don't have a QR code here. Yeah.
Well, I will make sure to get, we'll send everyone our contact information so you can get in contact. My email is pwright@convertitmarketing.com, but happy to answer any questions. I want everyone to have a thriving practice. You can do it, start small and build the habits. Owning a business can be fun.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And again, thanks again for joining us, spending the hour with us.